Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome back to Vanguard In Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the AS44 assault rifle, which until Vanguard came out, I didn't even know was a real weapon. Apparently, this is an early Soviet prototype assault rifle that saw extremely limited production and use in World War II, but was included in Call of Duty Vanguard, and like everything that came after the STG-44, is considered a prototype or forebearer of the AK-47. I do want to once again give a shout out to Exclusive Ace. Thank you for helping me make this video. You are kind of my life support this year. And a little shout out to my creator code Driftor, which needs to be in all caps. The O is a 0 on the keyboard, thus technically making the video sponsored by Activision, and no other sponsors today. So let's just jump straight into In Depth. The AS44 is possibly the best assault rifle for Warzone and Vanguard. Like every review that I do and every statistical analysis, there is some subjectivity to that, but the AS44 has a lot to offer, and it's a gun that I do rather like using. I will admit right off the rip, it isn't as easy to use as the STG-44, but it can perform better than the STG-44 in the right hands because its time to kill is just flat out better in almost every scenario. So the AS44 damage profile is pretty sad looking to begin with. Its base damage is 24, decreasing down to 20 at long ranges, but its bonus damage is 27, decreasing down to 20 at long ranges, meaning that at close ranges it is a 4-shot to kill weapon. However, those aren't super impressive numbers for an assault rifle. Interestingly though, unlike most of the weapons in Vanguard, the bonus damage area is the chest, like pecs and breast, stomach, torso, arms, forearms, and above the knees. The only places you're not going to be getting the bonus damage is below the knees and maybe if you're shooting somebody in the hands or something like that. So you're almost always going to be at that bonus damage 4 shots to kill, which I think is a great thing. If you're running Vital on this weapon, of course, you get yet another damage boost. That's 41 to 31, and you're going to need 2 Vital shots for the faster time to kill. And I'm going to not recommend this strategy with the AS44, and you'll see why in just a moment. Its rate of fire, however, is probably its strongest attribute at 923 rounds per minute, which is insanely fast for this game and best in the assault rifle class. So we're playing a World War II shooter here. Not a lot of the weapons in World War II fired insanely fast, thus the overall average rate of fire for a lot of the assault rifles in this game is lower. This is more like a rate of fire for a modern assault rifle, something you would see in like Modern Warfare 2 or whatever it is that's coming out next year, and it's just head and shoulders above everything else in its class in fire rate. So even though the damage might be mediocre, the rate of fire is insane, and you end up with a time to kill of 195 milliseconds if you're getting that bonus damage shot, which almost you certainly will be, or if you're getting Vital, that's 130 milliseconds, which is excellent. I do want to just emphasize that these are excellent and fast time to kill numbers. These are the things that players should just be all in love with, and this is the overall fastest TTK in the assault rifle class and should be respected. Just the base time to kill is comparable to the STG-44's Vital time to kill, and the Vital time to kill on this weapon I think is the second fastest in class. It lost out only by about 10 milliseconds, but your overall total combined average, what a normal player will experience time to kill from scenario to scenario, is going to be the fastest in class with the AS44, which immediately gives it great value. One of the things where it's great value is in the Walmart brand of great value, meaning low quality and not good, is that it doesn't have a particularly exceptional range. It deals its maximum damage at 0 to 34 meters, and then its minimum damage at anything above 34 meters. That's not terrible because there's a ton of engagements in this game and most Call of Duty games that are below 30 meters. However, as an assault rifle user, you'll probably want to fight people up to about 40 or 50. You'll feel comfortable with that. So some of the longer ranged assault rifle engagements will feel a little bit dumpy, but I'm going to wager that 75 to 80% of your fights will be within this range, and it'll still feel pretty good. But no, this doesn't really compete with any of the other assault rifles. Its handling stats are pretty average or normal for the class. Aim down sights time is 263 milliseconds, and the sprint out time is 250 milliseconds. Unlike the STG-44, it's not a very snappy weapon, but it's also not terrible. It's not terribly slower. It's not an outlier in a class. It's not something that's going to give you a disadvantage if you use it. And it also has very basic assault rifle movement properties. There's nothing exceptional about its run, sprint, strafe, walk speeds, or really anything like that that's worth wasting my time on in depth. Bullet velocity 885 meters per second, same as every other assault rifle, so not a whole lot to talk about there. Reload time, oddly, a little bit snappier than most of the other ARs. The reload cancel time is 1.47 seconds, which is actually quite good for that class, and the animation is 2.8 seconds, which is pretty average if you want to go through the entire thing. So a little bit snappier on the reload, which is just something that I'm all on board for. One of the other areas of weakness, however, is that it's not a low recoil weapon. The AS44 is almost the definition of having moderate recoil. It kicks up and to the right. It's not perfectly vertical, so there is some side-to-side control that you'll have to put on it. It has low precision and thankfully very little bloom. This weapon does have some ADS bloom. There's a little bit of rotation around the sight, but it's small enough to where at most ranges, I think most of you really aren't going to notice that. Its bigger issue is that when it kicks up and to the right, it does so somewhat inconsistently. It's not particularly precise and can be difficult to control. So that is a major downside of the AS44, and I think that's why the pros are still using the STG44 instead of the AS44, because they don't like that unpredictability. But at the end of the day, this is still the fastest killing assault rifle in Vanguard, and it isn't unreasonable in handling or in recoil properties. It's actually quite reasonable, quite manageable, and well worth the risk. You know, there's some risk reward. If you're going to take a fast time to kill weapon, it should be a little bit harder to use, and that's kind of what we've got going on here. Because of all of these things, I think that most casual players will get their best results from the AS44 instead of the STG44. I know that the STG is going to be much easier to use, so if you're an unconfident player or a new player, maybe use that. But for the rest of us Call of Duty veterans out there, I think you're going to get much better results from the AS44 because of that faster time to kill. Alright, moving along, I also want to talk about this weapon in Warzone because it's a standout weapon amongst all of the other assault rifles that are in Warzone Pacific, or if you're playing Vanguard Royale right now. The AS44 will deal 40 damage per headshot and 35 damage per headshot at long ranges in Warzone. If you're hitting any other region, it's 30 to 26 damage, and this time the other region includes everything. That's the neck, that's the chest, that's the torso, that's the hands, the feet, every single thing that you can possibly imagine that's not the head. That's the other damage. So while it's not great that it doesn't have a chest bonus, it is good that it's very consistent. Rate of fire is still 923 rounds per minute, and this is where that consistency is going to really come in, because when you put all those things together, you get a Warzone time to kill of about 650 milliseconds, which is really fast for Warzone Pacific weapons in general. A lot of them kind of gravitate around 700 to 750 milliseconds, and of the ones that I've looked at, of the assault rifles that is, this one seems to have the fastest time to kill. Not only does it have the fastest time to kill, but it has the fastest time to kill without factoring in headshots and without having to worry about how many times you shoot somebody in the leg or the arms or something like that. Because it's going to deal the same damage anywhere on the body except for the head, it gives it a consistently fast time to kill. That means I think this weapon is great for spray and prayers who don't want to focus on head or chest shots too much, and that's a ton of people in Warzone. There are a ton of people who, for good reasons, don't go for headshots at long ranges or even close ranges. They aim center mass, they click to hold down the trigger, spray and pray, dump bullets downstream, and just let them hit. I do this all the time, suppressing fire, team fire. You just throw out tons of bullets and just butcher people at long ranges. And the AS44 is really good at that, kind of like the old Growl from like 18 different metas ago. Remember the Growl? It was like a really accurate weapon, good for long ranges. You didn't really need to hit like chest or head or whatever, but you could just continually pepper people and like bleed their health. Well, that's kind of what the AS44 does very effectively in Warzone. I think that this one is excellent to pair with a sniper rifle. I don't think it's the best like long-range assault rifle in Warzone. Its recoil is a little bit high, which we'll talk about very briefly. The recoil in Warzone is very similar to its recoil in Vanguard. It's up and to the right. I will say the first 6 to 8 shots actually have higher recoil and aren't particularly precise, but thankfully there's no bloom, so we don't have to fool with bloom and accuracy too much on this weapon. But I think that given its rate of fire and its time to kill and how much it kicks, I think there are better choices for truly like ultra long range assault rifles, but very few better choices to back up a sniper rifle, because this is a weapon that will function as an AR at medium ranges, and it'll function as an SMG up close if you build it right. When it comes to building your classes on Vanguard, I focus on accuracy. I only like to add like a little bit of accuracy to my classes to tighten it up. It's pretty accurate. The bloom's not too bad as is. I do focus on mobility to try to get this weapon a little bit more in line with with the STG and some minor recoil reduction. So as long as it kicks a little bit less and is a little more accurate and a little bit faster, it's just undoubtedly the best weapon in that regard. So whatever combination of these insane attachments that you can come up with that does that for you will probably win most of your gunfights. In Warzone, I do run this like a little bit of a close range AR. I like to focus on mobility, recoil reduction, and some good low zoom optics. I don't actually over focus on the recoil reduction because its goal isn't ultra long ranges, but I do make sure that it's kind of a snappier weapon. It's just an excellent backup weapon, something that I think any of you would be happy to have in your back pocket in case somebody tries to push you out of your sniper's nest. And that is my review of the AS44. Overall, excellent weapon, not an easy weapon, gonna take a little work, gonna take a little love and practice and mastery, but once you get there, I think the reward for getting good with the AS44 is that you just have a faster time to kill than anybody else, which is infinitely valuable. Guys, that is all for this in-depth episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.